Hello, and welcome to Sobercast, where we provide AA speaker meetings and workshops in podcast format. We're an ad-free podcast, and if you enjoy listening, please help us be self-supporting by visiting Sobercast.com, look for the donate link, and drop $1 or $2 into our virtual basket. We hope you enjoy the podcast. Have a great day.
It's Herman. I'm an alcoholic. My sobriety date is October 3rd, 2003. I have a sponsor. I don't have sponsees right now, but I do service. Try never to say no to AA, because when I got here, they didn't say no to me. And what happened was, I don't believe I was born alcoholic. I hear that a lot. Like, oh, I think you're just born alcoholic. And I don't know. I just think it's the circumstances people are put in sometimes. At least this was my situation. You know, my family and friends used to drink a lot, so I thought it was a social norm. You know, my neighbors just sell a lot of drugs. There was a lot of stuff going on in my community. You know, I had a lot of bad role models, so that's what I thought was normal. That's what I was supposed to do. You know, school would tell me, say no to drugs, right? And I was raised Catholic, so I was afraid to go to hell. And you know, I just wanted to fit in. You know, I just wanted to be a part of. You know, I felt like I was not good looking. I didn't have girlfriends. I wasn't good at sports. I wasn't good at dancing. But when I started to use drugs and alcohol, I felt a part of it. I felt like I could do all that. You know, it was my social lubricant, you know. And I wasn't very good at it in the beginning, because if I was born alcoholic, I'm sure I would be slamming a 40 with no repercussions. But I was slamming 32s and 40s of King Cobra, Mickey's beer, and throwing up. Smoking also a lot of Mexican brickweed, green Mex, you know. Stuff would get you spinning and you just throw up. And I kept trying to do it, you know. It's like I kept building up my tolerance, you know, just to keep trying to fit in, because I would be sick, but I would see how everybody else would be enjoying themselves. And I wasn't comfortable in my own skin, you know. I had a lot of obstacles growing up, you know. I grew up Mexican. Mexican American, because that was an obstacle, you know. You know, my neighborhood was bad. My family worked in the agriculture as laborers, and you know, I didn't look up to my family. I looked up to the gangsters in my neighborhood, because they used to walk around proud, you know. And I could see that they were proud, and I wanted to feel proud. So I embraced all that. And around high school, you know, I was like a gang member. You know, I was just hanging out with them because, you know, there was alcohol and there was drugs and there was friends, there was a community. And high school was fun. I had a great time in high school. I wasn't weird. I am weird, but you know, I had fun in high school. You know, but I was introduced to so many drugs. There was a lot. I got introduced to crank, different colors of crank, a lot of white blotter acid. I think I took acid over 20 times, and it was fun. I don't regret doing it. Not at all. You know, I wish I could still keep doing it, because it was fun. It felt good. It made me feel good. But, you know, my disease kept progressing. It was my higher power. I wasn't, you know, I no longer believed in God, or if I did, I put him to the side. And, you know, I had no ambitions and no goals. I didn't want to go to school, graduate, you know, get A's and B's and go to college. You know, I didn't want to eat. I didn't want to date girls. I just wanted to be in my circles and keep consuming alcohol and drugs. And if I didn't have it in the morning, I wouldn't eat. I'd be in a bad mood. I'd be throwing temper tantrums. I'd be angry. Sometimes if I wouldn't consume, I remember I wouldn't be able to go to sleep for like 2 or 3 days at a time. And when I finally consume, the jitters and everything would go away. And this is me, like in high school. This is me, like in my early my late teens. And it was like Groundhog Day, same episode every day. Nothing changed. It's just my disease just got stronger and stronger, and I kept going under. My self-esteem was shot. I was done, and I didn't know my father was in AA, and he wasn't able to 12-step me, but he dropped me off in a program, and the program did study AA, and they used to take us to meetings. They used to show us how to be regular people. I used to have to get up in the morning, eat my breakfast, make my bed, shower, and leave, and go get a job, and come back for the meeting and pay my rent. And this is stuff I wouldn't do on my own. I didn't know how to do that. When I got here, I was 23, and I was still living at home. I was a mama's boy. A little sad, but the program, the SLE, actually helped me, catapult into life to be a grown-up. And I started adulting. Then after that, I started going to AA because I didn't want to suffer that life anymore. I don't want to be... I felt like I had low self-esteem now. So my self-esteem was building from no self-esteem. And now I was having ambitions. I wanted to live. I wanted to be a part of. AA was great as a young guy. It still is great today. The only thing is, my disease does work. It keeps popping up. It's never going to go away. And it does its push-ups, and I got to do my spiritual push-ups. And I've been sober 14 years, and it's not been an easy ride. I've grown up in AA. I got to do a lot of things I didn't think I was going to be able to do. I was able to go to the club all through my 20s. I just caught up with a friend from the other day. He's still sober. We were in the club every Friday and Saturday. Just being club dots or bops or whatever they call them. I had fun in sobriety. The young people circuit helped me a lot. I was able to be in relationships with women, and I'm still learning to be in relationships with people. I'm trusted at my job, stuff that I was not trustworthy person. I was a thief. I would rob your whole house. I went to jail for a residential burglary, and it was embarrassing, but that's where my disease took me. I was a thief in the night, and now when I said that I wish I could still consume and stuff, I sometimes wish I could, but the point of the matter is I know where my disease takes me, and I got honest with myself that I lost my privileges. I really, and living sober, it talks about when we usually do the third step before we do the first step. I always had an emergency. God, please God, get me out of this one. But this time, I really got honest with myself, with him. I'm like, hey, this is it. I can't do it no more. And when I did that, when I really got honest with myself, I was able to embrace AA. I was able to sit down and put my pride aside and say, I'm Herman, I'm an alcoholic and a drug addict. And, it's a beautiful ride. So if you're new, keep coming back until it starts to click. Because I was sitting there for 6 months, and at 6 months, I barely started catching on. I'm like, oh, what the, my brain turned on 6 months after. So I was so fucked up. I was a walking garbage can. Now I'm just a dressed up garbage can. So thank you.
turn the meeting over to Enjobe.
This is fine. Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Okay, I have to stand up.
Yeah.
My name is Enjobe, and I am a grateful recovered alcoholic. Welcome to the newcomers, and thank you all for being here for another day of my sobriety. Thank you, Nikki, for asking me to share, and thank you, Eric, for having me. Can everybody hear me back there? Seems kind of... You can hear me all right? Okay, great. Well, I guess I'm sticking with the format since I have so much time. So, I'll tell you a little bit about what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now. And I don't know, I'm going to ask my higher power to come in here and guide me through this. I say I'm a recovered alcoholic not to separate me from anyone else, but one of the first things that my sponsor pointed out to me, the first sponsor I had, she pointed out quite a few things, but she was very clear, and she would have me read them. She would read it, and we would read it together, and then she'd have me read it on my own. So it would be like 3 times I read it. And it says, the forward to the first edition, it says, we of Alcoholics Anonymous are more than 100 men and women who have recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. And then it goes on to say, to show other alcoholics precisely how we have recovered is the main purpose of this book. And that really hit me. Like recovered, like I came in here only because I flatlined in a hospital. I did one of those numbers. I did a geographic, now that I see, what I did was I did a geographic. I got into a relationship. I started a business, and I became a workaholic. And I put down the drink. Maybe that was sufficient reason, as the big book says, for me to stop drinking for some time. But it says for some time. And that's exactly what happened to me. I ended up coming back to San Francisco, the Bay Area. And, I had a glass of wine. I didn't drink wine anyway. And I had no, like the big book talks about, I had no consciousness about the last time I drank and what it did and did other outside things. It didn't even faze me. It was a glass of wine. And I had one glass of wine. It was fine. I didn't really care for it, but it was fine, And then I don't know, somewhere down the road, it could have been a week. It could have been a month. I can't really remember. But I had more wine. And it wasn't enough. I had to have a bottle of wine, but that wasn't enough. And I had to have 2 bottles of wine, and that wasn't enough. So I had to go back to hard liquor because it'd get me where I wanted to get quick. And, that's what I was about. I wanted to go into oblivion quickly. I was not the one to get loaded and go to the clubs and be like, hey, I wanted to leave this world. I grew up in San Francisco. I came from a big family. There was 9 of us all together. My sister was also in this program, and she passed away sober, a recovered alcoholic of cancer, about 4 years ago. I'm the second to the youngest, and my father's firstborn, so my mother got remarried. And I had a good life. My parents got me pretty much everything. We had what we wanted. We came from that kind of my mother and father were from the South. So their idea of raising children was to make sure they had the best of everything. The emotional thing wasn't too much, all the hugs and kisses wasn't really about how our family was, but, that was fine, but I'll tell you, early on, I was always the director. When I think about it, I was always the director of the show. So I hung out with these 2 kids, and we called ourselves the 3 Musketeers, right? They were 2 guys, and I was the only female, and, we got into trouble. We triple dog dared each other, and we did stuff, and, I didn't know that I was the ringleader until, no, I really didn't know. I thought we all had to come to some kind of agreement. That was my story until I, finally came, after so many years, came back with the 3 Musketeers, or one of the 3 Musketeers again, and he was telling me a story, and I was like, what? And he was like, yeah, you were always the one to get us in trouble. We used to get our asses whipped for you, So, and now that I think about it, I did. I used to get them in a lot of trouble. But, I always wanted to be somebody else. And I didn't know that until I got into that 4th step. And, for the newcomers, when I start talking about steps, just take the part that you could understand, because some of it just was crazy for me when I first came in here. But I didn't realize a lot about myself until I got into writing, about what it is I thought, and looking at my part, right? My mom used to, I had a lot of nicknames growing up, and in my community, if you don't have a nickname, nobody loves you. So I had a lot of nicknames, and my mom used to call me Pig. And when I was young, she said this pretty much almost all my life. Pig, you're a strange breed of cat. And what she was really trying to say is, you got alcoholic thinking. But she didn't know that. She didn't know that that's what it was, because I thought differently than everybody else. I got resentments, at a young age. I would shut down, cut you off, cuss you out, a little thing, the more I'm in this program, the more clear I become about the reality of my life, of my story, right? Of the past, right? But yeah, I started using it at a young age. My parents got divorced, and when they got divorced, we got split up. I never went back to my house. My father picked me up from school and picked up my youngest sister, and we moved to Daly City. And he's like, this is our house. I was like, what? Where is everybody? And that was my introduction into, the family has gotten divorced. And from that point on, I I was really resentful. I hated myself. I hated my family. I hated everything, but I really wanted to get out of this world. And I could think way back, my imaginary life was a big part of my life when I was young, because it would take me out of the world. And then from there, I would get into books, because it would take me, futuristic stuff, take me out of the world, And so when my parents got divorced and, someone introduced me to cigarettes, and it was like, yeah, well, this is cool, It makes me, I don't know, it took me somewhere else. And then, of course, came other things, outside issues. And I think I probably started drinking when I was about 14. And I liked it. And I got sick, and I didn't care. I wanted to do it again. You know what I mean? It was like my body rejected it, and I didn't care. I liked the feeling. And I wanted to do it again as much as possible. And, growing up in San Francisco, by the way, I'm 55 years old. So growing up in San Francisco back then, I could write a note. And, and say, or I could say, my mom and dad, or my mom wants a pack of these cigarettes, a bottle of this, and a 6-pack of that. And then we shoot off to, the basketball court or wherever and get drunk and loaded, and that worked really well, and I never got caught doing that, and hence that was my life. Looking back on it, I can say I was a full-blown alcoholic by 10th grade, no doubt. I didn't care about anything at that point, other than just getting out of high school, skating by, and getting drunk and loaded as I can. First it was just Friday, Saturdays, then it was Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it was Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and then we had the crew before school. We go around the corner, do what we did, and then went to class, And it was crazy, because I went to a high school that only had 400 people, so there was only 100 people in my class, so everybody knew I was loaded. And I smelled like I was loaded, so... and that was my story, and that was my life. And I couldn't understand why I would get these great jobs, and I'd get the car, and I'd get to this, and I'd get to that, and then I'd lose it all. I couldn't show up for work, and I get fired, but I get another job, and I try to do everything I saw everybody else doing, but I was never successful. I could never follow the game plan, whatever the game. It never occurred to me that drinking and trying to live life for this alcohol it just didn't work. You know what I mean? The drinking part, it was like I had to drink. I had to drink because I had to deal with my resentments. I had to deal with you people. I had to deal with my bosses. I had to deal with my family, all 9 of them, and my mom and my father. It was crazy. So like I said, I ended up getting dry. I got a good job, and I turned 30. I'm gonna stop doing this stuff. I'm grown now. 30 is a big age. I'm gonna do some stuff now, and I got a great job, and I loved it. And the beautiful thing about this job is they let me work as many hours as I want. I could work 18 hours a day if I wanted to. It was great. I'd work, go straight home, do the mission as fast as I could, go home, get in bed, go to sleep, get up, go straight to work, Because the mission was, certain areas in the area I lived in, I had to walk through a lot of outside issues, to get home, And I just didn't want to stop. So head down straight forward, and I did that. And I ended up doing a geographic, moving to Tucson, and, and I got in a relationship, and I really loved her too, but I was selfish and self-centered and didn't know it. I thought I was doing everything for her, but she didn't see it that way. So I started this business, and we made good money, and, we lived well, but I couldn't be a part of anybody else's life. I didn't know how to have relationships. I didn't have any friends. And I had this partner that, looking back on it now, I had for my own personal use. It was kind of like, yes, make my dinner. Great. Yes, let's have sex. Yes, I don't want to be around you. I'm going to work. And that was really the whole thing, and I didn't really know how to show love because I didn't love myself. And I was full of a lot of resentments of like the way in the past. I would sit there at work and I'd be working and my head would just be going with, what I should have said and, what I ought to do and just absolute madness. And deep down inside, I knew I was crazy. I had actually diagnosed myself. I was either bipolar or schizophrenic, but I wasn't going to let the world know. So, I had a business, I dressed good, I had some nice, sweet cars, and I just knew I was crazy, but I didn't want the world to know, and so I put on this front and I was miserable inside, and I didn't get relief, and we broke up and shit went crazy, and I, dry alcoholic all over her, and and I came back to the Bay Area. I got out of Tucson and came back to the Bay Area to be around my folks, and like I said, I drank, and I continued to drink, you know what I mean, and it got to the point where I lost everything, and I was homeless. And I did a lot of things out there while I was homeless, and I love women, but I slept with men because they had money. And I needed to get drunk and I needed to get loaded. I stole, you know what I mean? I did whatever I had to do. Broke in cars. I hate to see it now when I see people's glass all over. I'm just like, oh God, because I used to do that shit. You know what I mean? And finally I ended up meeting somebody and basically conned him into thinking I was going to be his girlfriend. No, I did, and I swear this happened, this is almost like the famous lesbian story, right? It's kind of like you meet a woman on Monday and you guys are moving in by Saturday, right? And it was like that with us. He's like, oh, come on, you should move in with me. Like, wonderful. He goes off to work, had a good job. He came home. I moved from his bedroom to the second bedroom, and I'm like, I'm not sleeping in your bed, This is awful, Yeah, and I just used the man because, he had a good job. He had money, And the only thing I was concerned with was drinking. I was selfish and self-centered, and I stepped on the toes of all the people around me, And that was just basically my story. And, he lived across the street from a liquor store, He would pull up, I'd look out the window, I'd go across in the morning, get everything I needed, and I'd barricade myself up, and I'd drink into oblivion. And I'd come to, and I'd drink into oblivion. And I'd come to, and that was and I kept doing that, and I can't tell you how long I did that for. And then finally I got sick and tired, and I thought, oh, you know what? I need to do something with my life, If I just get busy again like before, I could stop like I did last time, And that was my whole thing. Every day, I would write a list of all the stuff I do, so I'd stop. And every day, first thing in the morning, I'd drink. And that was the end of that list, And so I ended up putting myself in Laney College. I'm like, oh, yeah, I'll go to school, I'll get busy, get my mind going, and I won't have time to drink, And that worked good for a whole year. And then I went and had lunch. I had a burrito. I came back drunk. I don't even know how it happened. It was beautiful day. I sat at the lake. I had a burrito. I don't even know what happened. All the thing I remember going back to the liquor store, but I don't remember what I bought. It had to have been a bottle, because I went into a blackout. I remember going back to class. I remember being really excited because I love this class. And then I remember waking up in the morning. I had got on the BART, went to San Francisco, all the way to Hunters Point, knocked on my sister's door. She put me on the couch, and I woke up, and she was cussing me out. And I was like, wow. And I looked down at my clothes. I must have fell God knows how many times. It was filthy. Like, I could tell I fell on my knees. I fell on my arm. Like, I don't know how I made it, That was God, Anything could have happened to me, But, I had made this decision that, I got to stop, and I don't know how, And I was on the bus, and I was going to the doctor's. Well, actually, let me back up because I missed a big part of it. So I'm living with this guy, and I'm doing his back and, drinking every day. And every day he's leaving money on the table, and I'm drinking it up, And, so I was hungry, and I told him I love burritos. I love Mexican food. So I told him, let's go get some food after he got off work. I said, what you want? I said, a burrito down at my favorite spot over there on Fruitvale, right? MacArthur and Fruitvale. So just so happens he came around the way that we would have to go, like kind of past Highland, some kind of way on that little back street, whatever it's called. Mm-hmm. And he said that I said to him, take me to the hospital. Something's wrong with my heart. I don't remember any of that. I woke up with a tube down my throat and everything beeping around me. I couldn't talk. I didn't know what was happening. The doctors, or a doctor, was talking to me in such a way that he was pissed at me. Like, he was like, do you know what's going on? Do you, like, I just remember him, like, just seriously scolding me. Like, I didn't know what had happened. And, later on, I found out that my kidney failed, my liver failed. My heart was so badly damaged that they didn't really want to work on me. I had flat line, and they brought me back. Once they brought me back and they ran the test, and they was like, well, this is a hopeless alcoholic. It's going to cost millions to fix this body. We really don't want to do it. And like I said, I got a big family. So they descended on the hospital. He called my sister, my oldest sister. He looked at my phone, and he called my oldest sister, and she called the troops. And I don't know, it must have been about 20 black folk up there talking about, oh, you going to work on her. You going to work on her. And that's what they did. And I was so resentful and ungrateful. And they asked me, before they brought me into the operating room, they asked me, do you want a priest to come? My sister must have told them we were baptized Catholic. Do you want a priest to come in here and give you your last rites? And, and I said some really choice words, what they can do with themselves and that priest. And I didn't care if I died. You know what I mean? I really didn't care at that moment. I was ready to go. I was tired. And I didn't see that there was a solution. I didn't understand there was a solution. I had tried and I had tried and I had did it once. I stayed in the past. I had did it once. I stayed in the past. I should be oughta, coulda be able to do it now. And I couldn't, And so they worked on me, And they told me when they get my prognosis, there's a high probability you'll be in a wheelchair for the rest of your life. There's a high probability that you'll be on dialysis for the rest of your life. And there's an even higher probability that you'll have to carry around a oxygen tank for the rest of your life. And the grace of my higher power, none of that has come true. I'm walking, I'm breathing, I'm talking. The way I got to Alcoholics Anonymous, so, going back to school, I'm going to stop this craziness. I got a second chance at life, and I ended up drunk again, and sitting on the bus, and I'm white knuckling it because I got to go to the doctor's, and I can't drink this morning. She can't smell my breath, right? I was probably reeking like through my pores, but that was my thinking, right? And I heard these people on the back of the bus, and they were talking about a particular program and how they're so this, and they think they know that, and they don't know jack, and I'm not going back, and I'm just ear hustling, and it's a program for alcoholics. What the hell is this? So after that, after I got done with the hospital, with the doctors, I stopped at my liquor store, got what I needed, and then I got on the phone, and I said, hey, I heard you guys deal with folks, basically, whatever, like me, and I want to, what can I do? How can I be there? And they were like, well, we got an apartment for you to live in. And I was like, ooh, I could move out of here. All right. And all these, things. And they were like, well, can you come on down today? I was like, oh, well, I can't really make it today. And I don't know, I don't know. It took me probably maybe a couple of weeks. They made me go up to Cherry Hill first. And that's what we called it, Cherry Hilton. And so I got dry up there, and then I went on down, and I think I lasted a few months, and then I drank again. And and it was only because I wouldn't surrender, because I knew too much. You can't tell me to do this, and I think this yoga is stupid, and that's dumb, and why can't I smoke, and blah, And I was, I just wanted to do it my way, and so I came back, and I said, I'm ready. Please, I really want to do this. I can't do this no more. I'm tired. They said, come on. And it took me till the weekend. I was drunk again, goddamn. And they said, okay, you got to go back to Cherry Hill, or you got to, you got to get somewhere. Okay, I'll go to Cherry Hill. I told them, I'm ready. Just give me the chance, right? I went to Cherry Hill. She said, the woman there, she said, call me, when it's time, I don't know how many days, whatever. Call me, and we'll come pick you up. And I was calling, and nobody calling me back. And finally she called and said, we don't want you. And I said, holy shit, what am I going to do, I ended up, a long story short, in San Francisco in lockdown. And that's what it was. It was not a treatment center. It was a place where they locked you down. On this side, there had people that were going to AA meetings and that were trying to get sober. And down the hall, they had people in what they called harm reduction. So they were coming in drunk, loaded, and smelling like all kinds of good stuff, right? And, and that's where I really got introduced to AA, and I was really angry. I sat in the back, and I didn't want to be a part of this thing. I just didn't want to drink no more. And one thing I heard you all say was get a sponsor, take the steps. So that's what I did. Like my first couple of weeks, I was there, I got a sponsor, and I had this woman take me through the steps, and she would come like so often, I can't even tell you, and she would read this book to me, and she told me, you know what I mean? She read a lot in this book, and one of the things she read to me, she said, I want you to really hear this. She says, of alcoholics who came to AA and really tried, 50% got sober at once and remained that way. I said, what? She said, then another 25% sobered up after some relapses. I said, what? She said, you got a 75% chance of never picking up another drink or drug. And right then and there, I felt like a little bit of hope. 75, that's a damn good chance. And then she said, and among the remainder, those that stayed on with AA showed improvement, right? So she took me through the first step. She says, are you ready? Have you admitted, you're powerless, that you're an alcoholic? I said, yeah. She said, are you willing to believe in a higher power? I said, I'm not sure about that. She said, well, don't worry about it. Let's move on. Are you willing to turn that over? I don't know. Just don't worry about it. She said, I want you to start in this inventory right away. She gave me these sheets. She said, put it down there. And I was crying, and I'm reliving the past, and I called her up. She says, this is not meant to be a morbid. This is a fact-finding situation. You're just taking stock of what you did, who it is, why you're pissed off at them, and then, why you're pissed, and what's your part? Have you ever done it to somebody else? Yes. And then what's the fear behind that? Fear not being lovable, fear being rejected, fear, all this stuff came up, right? And so we did that, and I sat down with that fist up with her. This was the first time in my life, and this is the first relationship in my life that I was completely honest. Nobody else, at that time knew me, right? They knew versions of what I wanted to appear to I wanted to be the actor, and And I told her everything, and I swear, I felt a hot rod come out of my spine. I used to walk around like this all the time. And all of a sudden, I just rose up. You know what I mean? And that was God doing for me what I couldn't do for myself, you know. We went on, I took the 6th and the 7th step. I did exactly what she told me to do, you know. And then the 8th step with made a list of all the people we had harmed and became willing to make amends. I made that list on my 4th step. So I just transferred over those names and we went through them together. Do you really owe this person amends? You know what I mean? And and she said, immediately, you go out there and you start. I was like when? Like tomorrow? Like tomorrow you start making your amends. You take these 3 people and you go. You make appointments and you start doing it right away. Take the 3 easiest people first and warm up into it, right? And I said, well, I don't know about these people. I don't know where they are. She goes, are you willing to do it if you saw them? I said, yeah, I'm willing. So she made these little cards. She said, don't you ever say sorry. You are making amends, right? You ask them, what is it that I could do to make this right? Right? And then you close your mouth. Is there anything that you want to tell me? Shut up. And listen, whatever it is, the good, the bad, the ugly, let them say it. I get free, right? I didn't know that. Scared as hell. I was happy, though, because there was a couple of people on there I knew I'd never see again. You know? I was like, I don't never want to see them, you know, because I had did some terrible things to them, you know, and it just so happened one of the people, I was coming out of the bathroom at Laney College, and there she was. Holy shit. I went right back in the bathroom. I'm looking in the mirror, I'm like, fuck. I got my cards with me. I pull my cards out. What am I saying? You gotta do this, you gotta do this. I was like, God said, if you don't get your ass out there, she's gonna be gone. And I went out there and I made amends. You know what I mean? And she gave me the warmest hug ever. This is a person, I went into the only violent blackout I had with her. I went into a blackout and I was violent. You know, I had her fear for her life with me, right? And I had to make that amends, right? And I'm so grateful that God gave me that opportunity because it sat in my head. It just spun and it spun. And after I made that amend, it doesn't spin anymore. It has quieted in my brain. And that's what the amends did for me. It quieted my brain. All those stories I kept reliving and retelling and how I was going to handle it this time and how I was going to confront him that time and what I was going to, all that shit just went, right? You know, 10, 11, and 12, one of the things she asked me, my first sponsor, she said, in the beginning, are you willing to be a sponsor after you take these steps? And I said, well, I'm willing to do whatever you tell me to do. She said, good. So when I got to the 12 steps, she said, go out and find yourself a sponsee. I was like, find a sponsee? Yeah, start raising your hand. You know what I mean? And that's what I did. I've taken a lot of people partially through the steps. They bailed on me during the 4th, the 5th, or at the 9th, right? But I have 4 people, 2 people that have been with me the longest time, 5 years, 6 years, and the length of my sobriety, and 4 years, and the other ones are relatively new, 2 more. So those are the 4 people I sponsor. God is good, you know. I went back to school, like I said, and you know, and I decided to go all the way up from an AA to a master's degree. God is good to me. I'm so grateful. What's it like today? I work at this at the college level, and working an administrative side. It's really interesting. It's a new job. So I'm working for 2 different departments. One department I'm really digging. The other department, you know, I don't know. It's interesting. God put me there for a reason. This I know. And this is a tough journey. And I could almost, in my gut, I almost know why I'm in that position. And everything inside of me says, run. You know what I mean? I can't be her sponsor. Or I can't be like, you know what I mean? I can't talk to her as I talk to a sponsee. She's my, you know, superior. But that's what I feel like that's where we could really connect and have a real conversation. So I pray to God every day, every night. And I ask him to use me, And I ask him, let me be helpful, Let me bring the spirit of your light and your love into my job every day. Let me be a contributor. It's difficult, but there's purpose in it. I don't know what it is right now. I remember I used to say, why me, God? Why does this happen to me? And what I've come to believe, this experience that I'm having, getting to know my higher power, getting to know God. And it is an experience more than the knowledge of, I don't have knowledge of God's will for me. I wish I did. It would be so much easier. It's an experience, right? I know that when my day goes easy and my life is just flowing, I know I'm in God's will. And the minute things start getting like, a little rickety, a little tough, I know that I'm taking over. I gotta be taken over. And I gotta pull back and say, okay, what is it that I need to do? Is this something I need to do? I need to pray, or do I need to just stop? Just stop trying to do whatever it is I'm doing and just wait, It is an experience. I just want to say, this program has taken an alcoholic of the hopeless variety who had to flatline in a hospital and be brought back from death into a life that, I can't even say it's beyond my wildest dreams, because I could have never dreamt this. I just try to walk forward and just be open to whatever that experience God would have me be a part of or give, It's about giving now. My whole life has been about taking. Now I just ask God to let me be the person or be that entity that can give, right? For whatever time I have left on this earth, because I'm not supposed to be here, at least not in this condition where I'm able to help others, right? To the newcomers, please, take the steps as honestly as you can. I've gone through them more than once, and every time something else is revealed, this program is about spirituality. And the longer I'm here, I'm realizing that this is about my journey into God, or growing into God, or growing or taking away from these parts of myself so I could get closer to my Creator, right? So that I could be of maximum service. Please take the steps. You don't have to drink again. At the minimum, you have a 75% chance. At the minimum. Okay, and thank you all for being here for another day of my sobriety.
Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. Sobercast is ad-free, and we'd like your help in order to keep it that way. So if you'd like to help us be self-supporting by pledging $1 or $2 a month, visit Sobercast.com and look for the donate links. Thank you very much.